Speaks. What up? Welcome back to another edition of the Marcus Speaks podcast live. Now, I want to go over a couple things real fast. Number one, I'm streaming live, not only from YouTube or to YouTube. I'm streaming live as well to Facebook. So if you're on any one of those, if you got any of the notifications, if you got anything, come straight to this podcast. I would mainly say, like I said yesterday, I would mainly want you to come to YouTube instead of Facebook. Only reason is that by the time that this live stream is done, I'm deleting it from YouTube and I'm posting the link from my YouTube channel. The link to this video onto my YouTube channel. So I'm saying it's all well and good that y'all want to be over there at Facebook, but to be honest, I'm I don't even got my mic on. All right, I don't know if y'all heard any of that, but I'll reiterate in short. Welcome back to Market Speaks podcast. Number 2, I'm streaming live not from just YouTube but to Facebook. Number 3, by the time this live is over, I'm deleting the live video of this video from Facebook, and I'm posting the link in its place from YouTube. So, if y'all want to catch this show on the real, go to YouTube. Market Speaks. It's self-explanatory. If you need the URL, which is what you put in the address bar when you're searching for stuff, www.youtube.com/Mark Money. MARC Money. You know how to spell that, all right? And then you'll be right to the channel. All right. I believe everyone is smart, so I believe that you guys can do those things that I just told you to do. All right. So what was that? 4. So number 5. I want to get everything out of the way before I forget anything. So one thing I want to get out of the way before I get any of this stuff out the way. I gotta find it first in my phone. Hold up. I gotta start putting that picture where I need it at every time I do this. So yeah, I'm gonna go over. There we go. I'm gonna go over this with y'all. It's the fair use law, because I'm gonna be putting up videos that I found, and I don't want to get flagged for it anywhere. So, all right. So, all right. Excuse me. Sorry. So, this is the fair use law, and the reason why I do this is so, like I said, I don't get flagged on YouTube or somewhat. But some will say, hey, it doesn't matter because YouTube has their policy now to where you got to get written permission from said users to use their videos. Check this out. I ain't got all that time to be rating everybody, and I'm following the law at that. So I really don't. There's a lot of people who share other people's material, so I'm gonna get into it like this to YouTube and Facebook. Fair use. All right, it's the law. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use, and it is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107. All right, I got that out the way. So now that I got that out the way, take this down. Now that I got that out the way, how the hell are y'all doing? I hope you caught my live yesterday of Market Speaks Play. Market Speaks Play will be on same time as this on Fridays. Fridays at 6:30. I stream for practically like an hour and a half when I do Marcus Speaks Play. It's just me. You see me playing some of my favorite video games or new releases. But side note, since there's a shortage of both Xbox Series X's and PlayStation 5s, I have yet to get those yet. I'm waiting on uh, either IGN or Games. I think it's GameScope or GameScore or one of these like nerd YouTube channels or websites to let me know whenever these systems or consoles are in full stock and anybody can buy them. So that's what I'm waiting on. So y'all have to just deal with my Xbox Xbox I was about to say Xbox 360, Xbox One, my PlayStation 4, and my Nintendo Switch. Which lately, the both of the episodes that I've done so far, I'm playing Super Mario 3D World. So go, after this video, if y'all just want to chill out, maybe smoke some weed, something like that, and watch me play video games, it's the video right before this one. So have fun with it. Um, but with that, this video, I mean not this video, but this podcast, it streams every Saturday at 6:30 until, because usually I might have 4 pages full of stuff to talk about. I might have 1 page full of stuff to talk about back and front at that. I don't just waste paper, it's back and front. And yeah, so today I'm only covering 3 things. Some of the stuff is very short. Oh, well, I wouldn't say very short, but some of the things that I'm talking about today is basically stuff that's been going on in the news and stuff that I've seen that made me feel some type of way. So, not to let you guys wait any longer about what I'm about to talk about today. Um, cut the music down a smidgen. All right. So, as you guys know, I've been covering the Derek Chauvin case, right? I was wondering why the volume wasn't lowering. Like, anyway. Um, so if you guys been following the Derek Chauvin case, um, I covered it last week. It was basically the whole live that I did last week. It's uh damn near I think 3 hours long, but it has information in there that I think you guys would like if you aren't watching the case. If you aren't watching the case, you can watch me on Saturday, and I can give you guys a brief rundown of what happened that week because I'm literally watching it every week. It's going on. The case is only going on for 4 weeks. 2 weeks are down. It's 2 weeks to go. So I got all next week and the whole following week after that to look at. And I will be covering it every show until it's done. So what happened this week was that they were, let me share my screen with y'all real fast. So this week they were basically going through it with some of the witnesses and experts. But last week was mostly the witnesses, and then they went to some of the sergeants. This week they're dealing with not only the sergeants and lieutenants, they're dealing with the experts. Mostly with the people who have been, or not having, but they did George Floyd's autopsy. So there's like three people, or if it was not two people, who are medical examiners that did the autopsy and were toxicologists and stuff like that. They also had other experts when it comes to sudden death and un sudden death and um sudden death. I can't think of the other word. So so yeah, that guy right there is one of the dudes from last week. He's uh he's a LAPD sergeant, but he's an expert when it comes to use of force because I think every channel, well, not every channel, I'm sorry, every state, sorry y'all, I'm trying to think of like three things at once. So I don't know if you guys heard the expression, as goes LA, so does the country. Or California, I should say. As so goes California, and then the country. So almost damn near every law that's implemented usually starts in California. Usually usually damn near every like policy change of some sort when it comes to like legal stuff usually starts in California. So since they are basically the first to get everything and have everything, so some of the things that they have as far as like their policing, because I don't know if you guys remember back in the '90s when it was two bank robbers trying to rob, I think it was Bank of America or whatever, and they had a movie about it called 44 Minutes of Fear or something like that. And basically it was a movie that basically like it was the actors that was playing the two guys who robbed the bank that was in body armor or whatever. And then like y'all know how movies tell stories. They tell you two stories at once. So basically one story was the two guys, the other story was the cops. So I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, cops only used pepper spray, police batons, which are which are actually like martial arts weapons called, I think, tonkas or something like that. And cops used them wrong. So anyway, um, police batons, handcuffs, pepper spray, and revolvers. That's all they had. So I think after that happened, well, not after that happened, but I think over time they went into nine millimeters and then in shotguns as well. But that's all that they had. And then once police started getting more tactical, I believe it was mostly after 9/11. You start seeing cops with better weapons, better tactical material, tactical things such as knives and what else do they have? Just more tactical shit. The police, you can say, can be another branch of the U.S. military. You can basically say that. So, anyway, so this guy that I got up, he's a sergeant from the L.A. Police Department. He also worked with FBI for a while, I think he said. And it was mostly on like gang stuff because LA is, well, the whole state of California is littered with all kinds of gangs, and so is the whole United States. But he worked in a gang unit, and he probably had more more combat and firearms training. Probably him and his unit probably had more firearms and combat training than anybody. So he basically, this guy, he basically was up on the stand, basically talking about how how the use of force should have been done. So I'm gonna show you guys a video. I'm gonna take this down. I'm gonna show you guys a video of him in just a moment. Based upon. All right. All right. So I'm gonna play this video or whatever. So hopefully my volume's up at a good volume. So here we go. And your review of the different materials that you have conducted in this case, and based upon your own experience and training in law enforcement, have you reached an opinion as to the degree and amount of force used by the defendant, Mr. Chauvin, on George Floyd? Yes. And can I ask you to explain to the jury a little bit about what process or methodology you go through to render such an opinion?
There's a few steps. The main step is going through the objective reasonableness standard.
Jody Steiger. That's his name.
Seriousness of the crime, looking at person's actions, things of that nature, as well as looking at the specific agency's policies and procedures as well.
In addition to the seriousness of the crime under the Graham standard, do you look at any other factors?
I try to look at a number of factors. What was known to the officers at the time. And again, like I said, one of the biggest things I look at is what was the person's actions at the time that the officer was using force.
Right. And based upon your review of these materials and in light of the Graham factors, what is your opinion as to the degree of force used by the defendant on Mr. Floyd on the date in question?
My opinion was that the force was excessive.
All right. So that was his iteration of what he saw and what he thought, and it tells.
Mr. Hall.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Anyway, so he basically was finishing out week one because they had him last week, but they couldn't finish with him, so they asked him to come back. So he basically finished off week one. So once we got into week two, which I'm reversing this because he got on the stand once everything started happening. But before the case started, uh, they had I think it was either a public defender or something. Because if y'all remember me talking about George Floyd's ex girlfriend when she was on the stand, she alluded to somebody selling him the pills that he had in his car that the cops found or whatever, or either were there that weren't that either got found there but they weren't there before. So the dude's name is Maurice Hall. And let me share the screen again. No, I won't share the screen, but I will put his face up. So this dude right here, he basically was uh, doing a Zoom call through his lawyer because he lawyered up because I think he was the guy that allegedly sold George Floyd the drugs. So he basically pleaded the fifth on anything that he was being called in for. He didn't want to incriminate himself for the simple fact that he didn't. He just wanted to decline all questioning to begin with because he didn't want to be a part of this case. Because not only does it incriminate himself if he's talking about, oh yeah, I sold him the drugs, whatever, blah 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 blah. It's just he pleaded the fifth because he doesn't want to incriminate himself for the simple fact that if he did sell him the drugs and George Floyd would have had an overdose along with Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck, then he's in this case as well. He would be a suspect as well, not a suspect, but he would also be charged for the death of George Floyd. So he pleaded the fifth. He said, "The hell with that. I'm not saying shit. Damn that. I'm not doing it." So they subpoenaed him to come to court to basically talk about without the jury to basically tell his side of the story of why the defense is claiming that this guy, which his girlfriend Courtney Ross brought up, why is he, like why he got called in, the reason why, and tell his side of the story of something that he really doesn't want anything to do with. Like he doesn't want anything to do with this case, but his lawyer had this to say, and I'll play the video.
Thank you. All right, this is Mr. Hall's motion as a witness to quash the subpoena. Would like to address it. Cousins, if you would. And you can take off your mask if you like.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. Hall has been subpoenaed as a witness in this case by both the prosecution and defense. Defense counsel in our opening statement specifically named Mr. Hall and told the jury that they intend to call him and previewed what that testimony they believe would be. So in order to avoid any kind of delay or interruption in these proceedings, I notified all parties that Mr. Hall would be invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege and self-incrimination where he called to testify. I then subsequently filed my notice, the motion to quash the subpoena. Your Honor, at this point in time, Mr. Hall has no immunity. He has been provided no immunity, no protection for his testimony whatsoever. And because of that, Mr. Hall is invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination in several key areas of questioning that we believe he would face were he to be called to testify.
So let's stop you there. You said certain areas that he would testify to. So there are some topics that would not incriminate him. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I cannot envision any topics that Mr. Hall would be called to testify on that would be both relevant to the case that would not incriminate him.
Well, that's ultimately the court's decision, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's on a question-by-question basis. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Fine. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, that's okay, Judge. And just for brevity, I wanted to outline those areas that I believe Mr. Hall may face questioning. The first area where he would be invoking his privilege against self-incrimination is any activities that took place on May 25th, 2020, both before and after police arrived.
Okay.
Mr. Hall's testimony in these matters would specifically put him in the position of being in very close proximity to Mr. Floyd. There's an allegation here that Mr. Floyd ingested a controlled substance as police were removing him from the car. A car, by the way, that has been searched twice, and to my understanding, drugs have been found in that car twice. This leaves Mr. Hall potentially incriminating himself into a future prosecution for third-degree murder. And specifically, that's 609.195 subdivision B. And that statute, as the court is well aware, covers third-degree murder liability for someone who is involved in drug activity that eventually leads in an overdose. And that statute is broad, Judge. It does not just include the situation where A sells drugs to B, B then succumbs to an overdose. In fact, it includes any activity directly or indirectly, unlawfully selling, giving away, bartering, delivering, exchanging, distributing, or administering a controlled substance classified as Schedule 1 or 2. So that statute is broad, Judge, and it has been interpreted broadly by Minnesota courts. Again, it's not just that A and B situation. In fact, anyone who can be pointed to as a link in the chain of distribution, someone who prepares drugs for someone else, someone who acts as a go-between, can be implicated in third-degree murder. And so any of the activities that Mr. Hall would be testifying about throughout that day, and including before police arrived on May 25th, 2020, could potentially incriminate him in that charge, not to mention drug sale and drug use. Additionally, the other area of testimony in which Mr. Hall would invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege is any personal knowledge that he has of drug use by George Floyd up until and including May 25th.
All right. So you heard what his lawyer had to say about the whole, what I just said about him incriminating himself with drug use. So he didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to be involved in no way, shape, or form with this. He basically is saying without saying, I'm involved, but I don't want to be a part of this prosecution or persecution, I should say, not prosecution, just persecution or whatever, because not only am I involved in this with having the for giving said drugs to George Floyd, I don't even want to be, in the courtroom, because you can see where he was at. I don't know where the fuck he was at, but he was doing a Zoom call and allowing his lawyer to speak, as you should, because not only, I don't even think it's just the immunity thing of him, I'm saying, not having protection by the court or whatever, but mainly for the reason of him selling George drugs. And that's the only reason why he is not saying shit, which I don't blame him. If, he is selling drugs, but I'm just saying, man, but that was before the gentleman Jody Steiger that I showed you before. But along with that, uh, there was another sergeant that got up on the stand, and he basically, you know what I'm saying, was stating his case, his whole case with what he felt about the use of force. But I'll get into use of force with. I'll come back to him because he had some stuff to say when it came to the use of force. Excuse me. So I'll come back to him. But um, there was a gentleman. He was the ER doctor that we all knew, and I told you this yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, last Saturday, about the use of when the paramedics came. I'm sorry, when the paramedics came and they determined him dead at the scene. One of them in the street, the other one in the ambulance truck. They announced him dead, or they determined him dead. Um, but um, he he basically was trying to tell everyone, Dr. Bradford Langfeld, um, he basically with his questioning as far as the prosecution and the defense, they basically was asking him about, you know, what type of measures did he take, like as far as trying to revive and resuscitate George Floyd. And I think he said he worked on him for at least an hour until determining that the death came from lack of oxygen to the brain, which caused his cardiac arrest because there was no blood pumping. You know, when you breathe in, you're allowing your body, because not only is the air that we're using is to keep us alive and stuff like that, like for you know, for breathing and whatever. But it's also used in, you know, your circular system, which is helps you, you know, your heart pump the blood, you breathe in. Your heart needs that air to not only pump the blood, but, you know, is used throughout your whole body. So by what I'm going to be talking about today as well is um, George Floyd's health issues that he had. As far as him being as healthy as he looked, he had certain uh, health problems or whatever. I'm gonna get into that as well. So yeah, when he determined him dead, he determined that there wasn't a pulse, and I told you that the paramedics said that on scene. Dr. Langenfeld also couldn't resuscitate him at the hospital. And this is basically, like everyone knows, he was killed by Derek by having his knee on his neck. So since we know this already, and he determined that as well at the at the ER, and not only that, the paramedics determined that as well. So we so far we've had two professional opinions of them seeing a dead man. So paramedics stated, "Yep, he was dead when we got there," and then the doctor said, "Yep, he was dead. He was dead when he got here, and I couldn't resuscitate him." So to me, this is saying it's not looking too good for Derek. And last week, if you look at his hair, Derek's hair looked better than what it looked now. Because you can, to me, it looked like when the weekend passed and he was sitting in his cell, he was probably rubbing his fucking head as much as possible, trying to figure out what's gonna happen. And this is just my personal opinion. I feel like he was kicking himself in the ass because he's like, why the fuck did I do what I did? Because I wouldn't be here right now if I wouldn't have had to put my knee on his neck. That's just me. I'm not sympathizing for him. That's just what I think that he was thinking over the weekend until Monday came. So, I'm gonna play this video. Determining on where the video's at, I kind of know where it's at. From what he said, so I'll play it now. But if I have to skip forward, I'll just skip forward.
Did you consider the possibility of toxins, for example, being responsible for Mr. Floyd's cardiac arrest, including potentially drugs?
In the sense that it might have informed our care, yes. I didn't. There was again no report that this patient had, for example, overdosed on a specific medication such as calcium channel blocker or any other medication for which there might be a very specific antidote. And so in that sense, I didn't feel that there was a specific toxin that we could give a medication for that would readily reverse his arrest. Based on the history that was available to me, I felt that hypoxia was one of the more likely possibilities.
And hypoxia as an explanation for his cardiac arrest, meaning oxygen insufficiency.
Correct.
How long was Mr. Floyd in your care in the emergency?
That's General Attorney Jerry Blackwell. I went over him last week. He was the one who gave the opening statement, but you didn't see him anymore after that until I think like Thursday or Friday. But he's came up maybe 2, maybe 3 other times this week. Well, I'm going by days, so he's came up maybe 3 out of the 5 days, maybe all week of this week, because I had to rewatch some of them from the beginning because I didn't catch them until maybe like an hour in. So I had to not only listen to what was going on my television, I had to scroll back on my phone and listen to that. So I was listening to 2 things at once in the morning, trying to get everything that happened before and then everything that was going on as it was going on. So, yeah, that's General Attorney, State Attorney, Jerry Blackwell. So I'll get back into it.
Department.
Approximately 30 minutes.
And at the end of the 30 minutes, did you pronounce him formally dead?
Yes.
At the time you pronounced him dead, was he still in some degree in PEA or asystole in terms of describing his heart?
I think it's probably best to think of these as sort of a spectrum where PEA is some degree of electrical activity still running through the heart, but the heart's not pumping. And then eventually that will evolve into asystole where both the heart is not pumping and then the electrical activity stops as well. And so at the end of the case, Mr. Floyd was still in PEA, but there was virtually no cardiac activity. And at that point, in the absence of any apparent reversible cause, and because Mr. Floyd had been in arrest for, by this time, 60 minutes, I determined that the likelihood of any meaningful outcome was far below 1%, and that we would not be able to resuscitate Mr. Floyd. And so I then pronounced him dead.
And doctor, was your leading theory then for the cause of Mr. Floyd's cardiac arrest oxygen deficiency?
That was one of the more likely possibilities. I felt that at the time, based on the information I had, it was more likely than the other possibilities.
And doctor, is there another name for death by oxygen deficiency?
Asphyxia is a commonly understood term.
You were discussing hypoxia kind of being consistent with asphyxiation, right?
Correct.
Hypoxia is the lack of oxygen to the brain, correct?
Correct.
And there are many things that cause hypoxia that would still be considered asphyxiation. Agreed?
Correct.
Drug use. Certain drugs can cause hypoxia. Agreed? Specifically fentanyl.
That's correct.
How about methamphetamine?
It can.
Combination of the two.
Yes.
The use of fentanyl, do you know that to attribute to high carbon dioxide levels?
It can cause high carbon dioxide levels because it depresses the ventilation or the breathing.
So when someone ingests fentanyl, it can cause them to feel very sleepy because of an increased carbon dioxide level. Agreed?
Correct.
And that's one of the reasons ultimately that fentanyl is so dangerous, because it suppresses the respiratory system. Agreed?
The primary reason it is so dangerous. Yeah.
When someone has a high carbon dioxide level, that causes that person to have a sensation of shortness of breath. Agreed?
Yes.
And that can happen to a person even without stress complicating their body, right? That respiratory, that feeling of an inability to breathe.
Yes. And administering Narcan to someone who potentially suffered a fentanyl overdose, once that individual is in cardiac arrest, the administration of Narcan would provide no benefit.
You were asked questions just now about whether fentanyl works by causing someone to feel very sleepy. Remember that discussion?
Yes.
Did the paramedics tell you that Mr. Floyd was ever asleep or sleepy or anything that sounds like sleep?
The report that I received was that the patient, Mr. Floyd, was unresponsive on their arrival and did not have a pulse. So there was no report that he had been sleepy or difficult to arouse per se.
All right. So, like my words, the doctor also himself, you can check all of this out at Star Tribune. They have everything from the jury selection up until the last video this week, along with clips of every witness and expert that they've questioned and interviewed. So you can check all this out at Star Tribune. I'm basically up in them because this is who I go to every week now to see what the hell is going on with this case. And I thank them. So Star Tribune, if you see this video, I thank you for the past 2 weeks of me watching you. For giving, basically giving y'all's time to, come out and freaking give us your time by covering this case. All right, so the next gentleman is the gentleman that I had on the screen earlier. Is this gentleman right here? They'll show his name because I don't even bother trying to listen for names anymore, because by the time I go and write my little thing, my notes, and the thing that I'm going to be speaking on, so I can have my references here and all of this. Anyway, so that they asked him about, because he's a Minnesota police sergeant, and they basically asked him questionings, and they showed him mostly body cam footage. That's what they mainly focused on this week, was body cam footage. I think they showed the same body cam footage, if not other angles of the body cam footage from certain officers. Mainly, I think Chauvin, Lane, and Keone. So yeah, they he deemed what Derek Chauvin was doing out of policy. Although the hold itself is within policy, but the hold that he did was in policy, but how he did it was out of policy. So basically what he was speaking on is that Derek Chauvin didn't take the necessary step by step basis on how to administer the force. He basically was talking about how Derek pinned George Floyd down was Derek Chauvin shouldn't have pinned George Floyd's neck down the way that he did. Is not the way how he did it, it's the way that he did it that he deemed out of policy. So I'm gonna take this down, and then stop sharing that, and then I'm gonna get into this video, into his video. So there you go.
Reflect on Exhibit 17. I must ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department defensive tactics technique?
It is not.
We read the department.
I'm not even gonna try and sound his name out right now. So please sound it out for yourself and say it yourself. All right. Madaria Arenando. I'm guessing that's how you say his name. I have no idea.
Policy on neck restraints. Is this a neck restraint?
The conscious neck restraint by policy mentions light to moderate pressure. When I look at Exhibit 17, and when I look at the facial expression of Mr. Floyd, that does not appear in any way, shape, or form that is light to moderate pressure.
So is it your belief then that this particular form of restraint, if that's what we'll call it, in fact violates departmental policy?
I absolutely agree that violates our policy.
Are you aware now that the defendant maintained this position on George Floyd for 9 minutes and 29 seconds?
I am aware of that.
I believe you testified that force has to be reasonable when it's applied at the beginning and through the entire encounter. Is that right?
That is correct.
Is what you see in Exhibit 17, in your opinion, within Minneapolis Police Departmental policy, 5-300 authorizing the use of reasonable force?
It is not.
And why not?
That is, it has to be objectively reasonable. We have to take into account circumstances, information, the threat to the officer, the threat to others, and the severity of that. So that is not part of our policy. That is not what we teach, and that should be condoned.
When do you believe, or do you have it?
Sorry. He said condoned. I think he meant condemned. Because condoned is basically you accept it. But I'm sorry, no. I said that wrong. Condone means that you don't accept it. Condemned is also like the same thing. Like you don't want that. But like I said, my mind's thinking like several things at once. So I'm sorry.
This restraint on the ground that you use should have stopped.
Once
But either or, condoned or condemned, whatever, same difference.
Mr. Floyd, and this is based on my viewing of the videos, once Mr. Floyd had stopped resisting, and certainly once he was in distress and trying to verbalize that should have stopped. There's an initial reasonableness in trying to just get him under control over the first few seconds, but once there was no longer any resistance, and clearly when Mr. Floyd was no longer responsive and even motionless, to continue to apply that level of force to a person proned out, handcuffed behind their back, that in no way, shape, or form is anything that is by policy. It's not part of our training, and it is certainly not part of our ethics or our values.
All right. So,
I ask you if
I'm about to get into the next video with y'all. So let me take this off. Let me get to the next video. I can have it all queued up for y'all.
17,
That's not the one I wanted.
ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department?
All right. Sorry about that.
I ask you if
Okay. One second. I gotta look at this video because I forgot what it was about. So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna turn both of my mics off, and then I'll come back. So let's take, I guess, a quick break. So is this it? Yeah, that is it. All right, I'm gonna turn my both my mics off, and I'll be right back.
the defendant, if you
Used his right hand, and he was.
I ask you if the defendant.
All right, so the video that I was looking at, it was the LAPD sergeant talking about, and that's my next point as well. No, it's within the same frame of reference. So I'll play this video for you guys as well before I get into what I was gonna say. So let me turn this back on for y'all. All right.
And if you observe the defendant on the body-worn camera apply any other type of force upon George Floyd other than what you saw with respect to his legs and body weight?
Yes. Towards the beginning of the original restraint, the defendant used his right hand, and he was appeared to be attempting to use a pain compliance on Mr. Floyd's left hand.
This time I'd like to publish Exhibit 255, which I believe is in evidence. Using Exhibit 255, sir, can you please explain to the jury what you mean, and if the stylist would help, you could use that.
Yes. So here you can see the defendant's right hand grasping the fingers of Mr. Floyd's left.
So there's Derek Chauvin's hand. I don't know if y'all can see my y'all can't see my arrow. But anyway, the black glove, you see that circle where where Derek Chauvin's hand meets George Floyd's hand. They're basically talking about George Floyd's Derek Chauvin giving a pain compliance move to George so he can comply with the arrest, so they can get him in the car, take him to the station, get him booked, and put him in the cell. But we know that didn't happen. But he's basically talking about the pain compliance as far as the use of force. So we'll get back into that.
You use the term. I'm sorry.
Appears to be squeezing.
And you use that term pain compliance. Can you please describe what that means?
Yes. So pain compliance is a technique that officers use to get a subject to comply with their commands. As they comply, then they are rewarded with a reduction of pain.
And how would this positioning induce pain?
This can induce pain a couple of ways, either by squeezing of the fingers and bringing the knuckles together, which can cause pain, or also basically pulling the wrist into the handcuff, which can cause pain as well.
And you can see on Exhibit 255 where there's where Mr. Floyd is handcuffed.
Yes.
Can you please put a circle around that? And you can see on Exhibit. Okay, so is it your testimony then that the drawing of the fingers down and the wrist down towards the handcuffs could induce pain?
Yes, especially because the handcuffs were not double locked. Double locked meaning that they could continue to ratchet tighter as the person moved.
Were you able to hear instances of...
I don't know if you guys know what that means, double locked. That's basically when the cops put the cuffs on you as tight as they can. Some people who have big wrists, probably sort of kind of like mine. My wrists are big. Not that big, but they're big enough. I've had cuffs on me, and the cop put these motherfuckers on me so fucking tight. The first thing I said to him, I turned around, I said, yo, man, you can at least loosen these cuffs up a little bit. I'm not about to run or do anything crazy. I'm gonna comply with everything that you're saying. I just need you to loosen these fucking cuffs up. That's all I need you to do. And he was being an asshole. He just sat me down. So I said, yo, all right. Didn't have that badge on. I will fuck you up right now.
what you recognize to be ratcheting during your review of the body-worn cameras?
Yes.
So the principle of pain compliance, if I'm to understand your testimony, you would inflict pain for the purpose of having the subject obey your command.
Yes, comply.
What if there's no opportunity for compliance?
Then at that point, it's just pain.
You again observed the entirety of the body-worn camera footage. Did you see whether the defendant discontinued the use of this pain compliance technique during the restraint period that you've defined?
Yes, I did, and no, he did not.
All right. Thank you, Star Tribune, for that. So mainly what I was going to get into was so they also interviewed some other tactic people of use of force, and it was a gentleman. I don't know most of these people's names. Lieutenant Johnny Marcel. He basically was questioned from the prosecutors about use of force training. He basically outlined. He didn't really outline the whole thing, but he gave his take when use of force when they train use of force and how to apply use of force. So, okay, I got two videos when it comes to that. So I'm gonna play this one, and directly after that one, I'm gonna let the other one play. I might intervene in between both of them, but let's get into the next one.
Testified that an individual can be unconscious one moment and then suddenly become conscious and become violent, correct?
That is potentially, yes, sir.
Have you ever had a circumstance where an individual has lost their pulse and suddenly come back to life and become more violent?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Nothing further.
Sir, in terms of the use of force, the continuation of the use of force, you were just shown Exhibit 184. Looking at this individual right here, does it appear that the man in blue is holding back the man in black?
Yes, sir. The guy with the boxing shirt on?
Yes, sir.
He's holding back. That's at a glance.
Yep. Now, in terms of
Mainly, I think they were alluding to two of the witnesses that I talked about last week, which I don't even think he was in blue. I think he was just in a gray sweatshirt, which was the guy. What is your name, sir? Christopher Martin was, I guess, holding back Donald Wynn Williams II. So, yeah, basically, the defense is all over the place when it comes to this case. To me, they're all over the place. Main thing that they want to drill down is drugs and stuff, but I'll get into that within the next thing that I talk about. But let me continue this.
Continuation of use of force, we're talking about involvement of onlookers, right? The words they use matter, correct?
Yes, sir, they do.
If they're cheering on and saying, "Good job, officer," that's one consideration, right?
Correct.
But if they're saying, "I'd slap the fuck out of you," or "You're a pussy," or "You're a chump," would that reasonably tend to rise alarm in a police officer?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
And if they're saying, "Get off him, you're killing him," should the officer also take that into account and consider whether their actions need to be reassessed?
Potentially, sir, yes.
Nothing further.
All right. Star Tribune got all the goodies for y'all today. So, the next video is a BCA agent that's questioned about the drug thing. So I place this video here for a reason, because the next thing I have to say is about the overdose and stuff like that. So here we go.
Did you ever hear Mr. Floyd say, "I ate too many drugs"?
No.
And I'm going to ask you, sir, to listen to Mr. Floyd's voice. Did you hear that?
Yes, it did.
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, "I ate too many drugs"?
Yes, it did.
To put context in the short video that was shown as Exhibit 107, Agent Ryerson, while we were on a break, did you have an opportunity to review Exhibit 127, which is the composite with King's body-worn camera, correct?
Yes.
During that same time period.
Yes.
And prior to the short clip of Lane's body camera that you were shown as Exhibit 1007, is there a discussion about drug use by the officers and attempting to speak to Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
And hearing that section of the audio, did that help you to understand what Mr. Floyd might have been saying that you were asked about by counsel?
Yes.
And, Your Honor, then we would ask to play 127, Exhibit 127, which is queued up to 2020-30 through 2021-01, where that phrase appears that Mr. Ryerson, Agent Ryerson, was asked about.
Please can stand. Please, I can breathe. Get up on the sidewalk, please. One side or the other, please. My face is up bad. There's where his legs up. Oh, sorry.
You guys can't see the other angle that they're showing. Okay, y'all probably can see it a little bit, but you probably can't see it that good.
So the record should reflect that we played through 2021-10 with the quote that you were asked about appearing really at 2021-01, correct?
Yes.
Having heard it in context, you're able to tell what Mr. Floyd is saying there?
Yes, I believe Mr. Floyd was saying, "I ain't do no drugs."
So it's a little...
Okay. I don't think we need to finish that, because not the prosecution, sorry. I'm showing y'all all my little tidbits. I don't want y'all to see that. So he basic. Okay, I showed that already. So the defense is still, and this is their main selling point when it comes to their part of the case, is that George Floyd was overdosing or had overdosed on drugs, and they say it when they're either taking a witness first or during their cross-examination. It's all drugs. He was on. Do you believe when he's talking to, like, as you've seen, the BCA agent, all the other witnesses so far is basically them talking about, hey, well, did you know he was on drugs? No, you didn't see that he was on drugs? Well, we have evidence that showed that he was on drugs. And it's like, yo, you gotta chill the fuck out with that whole drug thing, because, like I said last week, if he was on drugs and then he got put into that hole, it becomes a health risk at that point. So now that it's a health risk, and you can see that it was a health risk, why is it that Y'all not seeing that. Y'all defense is mainly based on bullshit. Mainly. And when the prosecution is drilling the witnesses, or when they're talking to the experts, theirs is sound in the whole simple fact is from what they see. So the defense, the prosecution is going off of the whole what you see is what you get, and the defense is going off of, well, this is something that you didn't know about it, and we're about to tell you. Either way, what constitutes somebody to sit, to kneel on someone's neck like that until they pass out, go unconscious, and then die? Because, like I said, there's been three opinions from three people in the realm of medicine when it comes to paramedics to doctors. You got three opinions. You got, what's his name, Derek Smith. I forgot the other paramedic's name, and then Dr. Langenfeld. I think his name was Chad or something like that. So I'll say his name was Chad, one of the paramedics. When he was outside, he determined that he was dead. Then Derek Smith determined in the ambulance that he was dead. Then Dr. Langenfeld, after an hour of trying to resuscitate George Floyd, determined that he was dead. So when it's coming to the defense, and I don't know what the hell they was thinking when they was coming up with their whole game plan or whatever, but y'all didn't stop to think that maybe you're running off of a weak defense. Because if you're basing your defense only on drugs, which is a good defense, it may be another case, maybe in some sort of other case that you probably are doing or will do later on, but it's not good here. Like, there's what basically puts the defense at a default is that you got a viral video, you have several police cam footage, you have other phone footage, and then you have street cameras that surveil the street that it was going on, that everything was going on. So then you have I forgot you got Jenna Scurry saying that she thought that her screen was frozen because she saw these three guys on top of him for several minutes. And then you got the firefighter that was off duty. She was off from work that day. You got Donald Wynn Williams, and you also have the older man, Mr. Charles McMillan, that basically saw the whole thing go down. So what defense are you standing on? If I was him, I would quit. I would basically, what's it called? I would forfeit the case. And I'm not saying that because I'm only on the prosecution side and I want to see justice be done, but I want justice to be done because we saw somebody, and I'm not even going to say the color of the man. We saw a man kill another man in front of us, and then the whole world erupted in protest because of these said things that's been going on. Not only just to George Floyd, but to Breonna Taylor, which nothing has been done yet with that. Those cops got off. And I thought that I spoke wrong, last summer? Which I didn't even post that video during the summer. I think I waited like 2 or 3 months to post that video. But nothing was done. And I believe I said this 2 videos ago. What we need to stop doing, or I think I said the last video, what the families need to start doing is stop taking the money that is given to them. Because other than we haven't heard anybody speak out against anything, which she really wasn't speaking out against the police officer. She was mainly speaking out against Tamika Mallory and Black Lives Matter. Tamir Rice's mom. I don't know if she accepted the money or not, but what we need to stop doing is taking the money, because you shouldn't put the money in place of a loved one. That's number one. Number two, why are you accepting said money from somebody or from a police department, of a member of the police department that killed one of your loved ones? Son, daughter, husband, daughter, what have you, uncle, grandmother, what have you. Like, it's no point. So their defense is basically based on bullshit. And due to George Floyd smoking, I guess he was smoking more than just cigarettes. I think he was smoking weed as well. But I'm not putting that on. I'm gonna say it allegedly because I don't know. But cigarettes we know for sure, because I came up with the whole thing with the Christopher Martin guy. But so what we learned from this with the medical examiner, with one of the medical examiners, which I think is this guy right here. I think that's one of the medical examiners right there. That said that due to George Floyd's long time smoking, and I think this had happened to my mother, due to not enough oxygen getting into the body and stuff like that from when you smoke. George Floyd suffered from an enlarged heart, and you really don't know you have a enlarged heart, and I think until you get tests ran, or I mean X-rays ran to show that you have or a CAT scan to show that you have an enlarged heart. Basically, it's dangerous to have an enlarged heart, because I think the percentage of you having a heart attack with an enlarged heart, I think, is like high, like very high. I don't know the statistic nor the percentage, but y'all can help me out right now. Y'all can put it in the comment section. So yeah, he had an enlarged heart. Not only that, they said that he had heart disease as well from smoking, because heart disease is one of the things you get from smoking or whatever. Other than black lungs or whatever. But yeah, yeah. This guy, he he had excellent points. His his voice sounded like a cartoon villain's voice. It was real. Like he's English, so when he was talking, and they didn't have a picture of not a picture. They didn't have a video with his testimony because I think they had him on the stand for almost maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours talking. And this is when I started really like listening. Like after they got done away with all of the after they done away with all of the sergeants and lieutenants and got all that like use of force stuff out the way, when we started getting into the meat of what the medical examiners found, that's when my ears started perking up, because when he started talking, it was so educational. I felt like I was listening to a documentary about heart disease and like medical examiner work and stuff like that. Like I was just sitting in my room at the edge of my bed, like, yo, this dude, as the kids say, I was like, this nigga spitting. So, so you have him. He was talking. I don't have a video for him. But you had him, and you had this lady. I have a video queued up for her. What her name is? I don't know what that other guy's name is as well. And you also had this guy. I don't know his name as well. You'll see it in the video. I'm only gonna play a piece of his, because his video is the whole hour that he was on the stand. They took a break in between, but still he was up there for an hour. But when he, not only with this guy, his work, her work that she talked about, that was compelling as well. But I really started listening. Well, I was listening with all of them, but with this guy, I was listening real good. I really wasn't paying that much attention when she got on the stand because I was grocery shopping, so my bad. But by the time I was home, he got to the stand, and his work is compelling, and everything that his his training that he went through is out of this fucking world. So so I'm gonna hip you to her. I'm gonna get her video up, and I'm gonna let you guys see what she had to say.
Based on your review of the evidence and the death certificate, do you agree with Dr. Baker's determination on the cause of death?
Yes, I do.
And is that by the word immediate on here?
Yes, cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Have you, Dr. Thomas, formed an opinion about the mechanism of death?
Yes.
Would you tell us what that is?
In this case, I believe the primary mechanism of death is asphyxia or low oxygen.
So we'll come back to the mechanism in just a minute. Can you explain to the jury what this cause of death means and why you agree with it?
Well, it's kind of in two parts. So there's the cardiopulmonary arrest, which it doesn't provide a lot of additional clarifying information because, in a way, everyone dies of when your heart stops and your lungs stop. That's cardiopulmonary arrest. But as a forensic pathologist, I would use cardiopulmonary arrest when I'm to differentiate it from a cardiac arrest. So this is not a sudden cardiac death, a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. This is a death where both the heart and lungs stop working. And the point is that it's due to law enforcement subdual, restraint, and compression. That is kind of what ultimately is the immediate cause of death, is the subdual, restraint.
As you see that part down here, cause of death immediate. It says, I gotta get up close. I think I need glasses, but anyway, it says cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. That's on. Is that the death certificate? I think that's the death certificate. I've never seen a death certificate before. So if anybody knows if that's the death certificate or not, please let me know.
And just so it's clear for the jurors, does cardiopulmonary arrest mean heart attack?
No.
Does it mean fatal arrhythmia as a primary cause of death?
No.
It simply means that the heart stops and the lungs stop.
Correct.
So another way of simply describing death itself.
Right.
Can you explain what's referred to, looking here at the terms subdual, restraint, and neck compression?
Those were activities by the law enforcement agency officers involved. Subdual is subduing someone. Trying to restrain them is, in Mr. Floyd's case, involved handcuffing him, his positioning on the ground, the prone position, the people kneeling on him. And the neck compression is the knee on the neck specifically. Additionally, there was some back and other things being compressed by the officers.
So if you put all this together, cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression, what does that mean?
Well, what it means to me is that the activities of the law enforcement officers resulted in Mr. Floyd's death, and that specifically those activities were the subdual, the restraint, and the neck compression.
And does this now also represent your own conclusion?
Yes.
A conclusion you have reached and an opinion you hold to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
All right. So then it's him. Yeah, let me play this and then I'll say what I have to say. Yeah, let me just play this for y'all and then you guys can make your sorry. I'm gonna let this play and then I'll come back and say what was said by all three of the medical examiners and coroners that I just showed you.
Medical examiner's primary role, again, as I mentioned, is the cause of death, the manner of death, and the how injury occurred.
So if we look at the cause of death, immediate, underlying, other contributing conditions, this would be the section that you fill out.
Correct.
So if we see here on the manner of death, it indicates homicide. Tell us, what does homicide mean to you as a medical examiner?
So as a medical examiner, we apply the term homicide when the actions of other people were involved in an individual's death. It's one of 5 manners of death that we can choose from, the other 4 being accident, suicide, natural, or undetermined. Homicide in my world is a medical term. It's not a legal term. From a vital health and public statistics point of view, it's critical that medical examiners fill in a manner of death on every death certificate because from a public health point of view, you want to know how many people committed suicide in your state, how many people died of accidents in a given year in your state. And so it's a key piece of public health data, but we don't use it as a legal term.
Would you tell us from your point of view as a medical examiner, what does natural mean?
Natural means the person died exclusively of natural diseases.
Right. So an example of a natural disease might be a heart attack or a fatal arrhythmia as a primary cause of death.
Those are actually pretty vague terms. We're much more specific. So to your point, Counselor, arteriosclerotic heart disease causing a heart attack would be a natural cause of death. A ruptured brain aneurysm from long-standing untreated high blood pressure would be a natural cause of death. Metastatic lung cancer would be a natural cause of death. There's almost an infinite number of potential natural causes of death.
And if we look at accident as an accidental cause of death, is a drug overdose an example of what could be an accidental cause of death?
Most drug overdoses are accidental causes of death. Some are suicides. But yes, we do regard most drug overdoses, because we don't believe the person intended to die. We do regard those as accidents.
And we know what suicide is. Doctor, what does undetermined mean?
Undetermined means that despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the medical examiner's investigators, we simply never could pin down the circumstances under which the individual died.
Hold on, I want to play this over, because this is exactly what Derek Chauvin's gonna hear once he gets determined for being guilty. Get the cuffs on. Get the cuffs on. Take his ass out of there. Put him in a solitary confinement cell for the rest of the duration of his fucking life. Alright, I'm sorry. I got too excited.
In any good medical examiner's office, you are going to have a small percentage of cases every year that go out undetermined in manner. Most of those, as it happens, are people who died of drug toxicity, and based on the drug levels, based on the person's known history, we just don't have enough data to know whether this was a suicide or an accident. And so if we don't know their intent, it's often undetermined. More dramatic but slightly less common example, you find a skeletonized body out in the woods. You have no idea why the person was there, how long they were there. There's very little left to work with, so you don't really know what happened. A case like that might go out undetermined as well. Again, much less common, but undetermined essentially mean.
I would say that cause of death would be from nature itself. So that could be considered natural causes as well. If there's just a dead body out there, obviously something or someone killed them. But since they won't be able to determine that, you'll get flies and and they'll have put maggots inside of them, and other vultures and stuff will get to it. So natural cause of death, whatever.
We never really did figure out the circumstances.
Now, in Mr. Floyd's case, you listed the immediate cause of death as cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Correct.
What does cardiopulmonary arrest mean?
That's really just fancy medical lingo for the heart and the lungs stopped. The heart, no pulse, no breathing.
So with respect to the term complicating, am I right in the understanding that this term means occurring in the setting of?
Yes.
Or in other words, cardiopulmonary arrest occurring in the setting of law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Correct.
So Dr. Baker, can you tell us how it is physiologically that the subdual, restraint, and neck compression caused Mr. Floyd's death?
In my opinion, the physiology
I'll stop it after this.
What was going on with Mr. Floyd on the evening of May 25th is, you've already seen the photographs of his coronary arteries, so that you know he had very severe underlying heart disease. I don't know that we specifically got to it, Counselor, but Mr. Floyd also had what we call hypertensive heart disease, meaning his heart weighed more than it should. So he has a heart that already needs more oxygen than a normal heart by virtue of its size, and it's limited in its ability to step up to provide more oxygen when there's demand because of the narrowing of his coronary arteries. Now, in the context of an altercation with other people that involves things like physical restraint, that involves things like being held to the ground, that involves things like the pain that you would incur from having your cheek up against the asphalt and an abrasion on your shoulder, those events are going to cause stress hormones to pour out into your body, specifically things like adrenaline. And what that adrenaline is going to do is it's going to ask your heart to beat faster. It's going to ask your body for more oxygen so that you can get through that altercation. And in my opinion, the law enforcement's dual restraint and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions.
Did you hear what he said? Man, look. This dude probably has to be the greatest fucking medical examiner to have ever lived, to be on a stand taking questions. Because if y'all saw how good all his words just flowed out of his mouth of him describing and in detail at that of how he determined cause of death, what he saw and stuff like that. Within medical examiners, I think they have to take pictures and reference them while they're doing their work on the body. He bodied. If y'all watch, I'd much rather y'all watch the entire video of the case instead of just taking little snippets out and looking at that. But homie bodied this shit. So what the hell is his name, man? I gotta get his name, but I'm gonna take this video off real fast. His name. Please give me his name. Dr. Andrew Baker. So thank you, Dr. Baker, for doing this. You didn't have to come in there and say all those
based on your review,
say all those nice words you said.
Evidence.
You didn't have to say all that, man. All you could have did was just keep your ass home and do the rich people things you like doing. But that shit was great. I gotta tell you, that shit was great. So anyway, so with Dr. Baker, he also got into which the defense keeps bringing the fentanyl and stuff up. So, they got into the levels of fentanyl in George Floyd's blood. So they said, and this was the first gentleman, the English gentleman that I showed y'all. So he brought up that he had at least, well, not at least, but every 5 nanogram to every liter of blood that they measured. I couldn't get the word, but it has fentanyl in it. But it's basically when fentanyl is processed in the body, when it breaks down, it turns into another compound. It's something fentanyl. I think it starts with like an A or something. But he basically he basically is I'm sorry, I had to cue this video up. But they basically was talking about that. And also they got into I said that already. I'm sorry. I'm referencing off my paper. I'm sorry. All right. So yeah, they got into the whole thing with how the fentanyl is processed in the body, and they got into like, you know, the amount of time, what happens when it's being broken down, and all this other shit. Now, I know some of the shit may not excite y'all, but when I was in the 9th grade, I wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't put forth the work and the, you know, of being one. So I said, you know, fuck it. So anything when it comes to like medical shit, like I get excited about hearing. I just hate going to the doctor. That's just it. But anyway, but yeah, that was basically the first week. But I was watching something the other day, and I was watching this guy's podcast, and this isn't really giving me a date of when it was done, but it's this dude named Steven Crowder. Y'all probably haven't seen this video, but I will show y'all this video. This said video. Because this fool actually reenacts the subdual of George Floyd from Derek Chauvin for the amount of time, and I'm not going to show you the full video. I'm just going to give y'all what this I'm just going to show y'all what this asshole did. So I'm probably gonna play it up until when he gets subdued and put to the ground, and then I'll stop it there. But this motherfucker actually reenacted this shit. But the guy playing the police officer, he didn't actually do the same neck restraint that Derek Chauvin did. Like you can see the difference in between what Derek Chauvin did to what this actor's doing. So let me bring this video up and I'll play it.
We lost your audio for 1 second. Hold on. We're getting it back.
What?
There we go. All right, you're good.
Steven, can you step to your right a couple steps? Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Well, what's the problem? Is the camera cutting us off here?
No,
it's the mic.
All right. Oh, it's the mic. But how does the mic even work? I mean, how does stepping to my right help the mic?
You're good.
We can hear it. It did.
What it's like with.
There you go.
Remove the scale here. All right. So
right where it's attached to your shirt.
Okay. Move the earpiece to my other ear.
Sorry.
We're gonna lay down.
Let's hope.
Back yet?
No, he is not.
No, he's still.
I think he's avoiding
By the way, these
this
are much
segment.
smaller handcuffs than actual. Put them around my wrist, not for him. These are much smaller handcuffs than actual handcuffs, just so you know.
Dave's back.
Hey, Dave.
So these handcuffs actually have less room, like a bit more distance. Okay. Now I'm getting a little bit of echo in my own sound here. Okay,
Sorry.
we're gonna lay down.
I was hoping I'd be part of this.
What?
What? You okay?
Oh, you want me to face this way?
Now, hey, Steven, have somebody move your earpiece to the other ear because they'll be kneeling right where it's attached to your shirt.
Okay,
Yeah,
move the
right.
earpiece to my other ear.
Yeah.
Well, the point is I can't have it on my stomach. So,
Well, whatever you need to do. Go ahead. Let them do their thing.
Wait. Trying to not bring my mic back.
There you go. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Okay. I really have to pee too, so.
Do you?
So let me know when you guys are ready to start.
I'm ready to go when you are.
Yeah.
He's got to pee. How do you think George Floyd felt?
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Well, hold on a second. They didn't say.
So that's Derek Chauvin doing that. As you can see, Derek Chauvin's right foot is on top of his left foot. So we'll see what the actor does when he does it.
Start the timer.
We're ready when you're
ready? And 3, 2, 1.
Okay, all right. So
Timer down.
Neil.
Kneel on my neck, your shoulder.
Oh, pause the timer.
Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
Here we go.
Now I'll roll it back.
Actually, more uncomfortable for me is because I have a bad shoulder. So my left shoulder right now is popped out of the socket. But
It's 5 seconds in and you don't like it.
Oh, no,
Yeah, no,
It's already complaining.
Hey, you know what, Dave? Sometimes you deserve to be arrested.
That's true.
He's specifically meaning you, Dave.
No,
I
my response is agreement.
I think they were lower on the legs there, Brendan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think they were more like on the hamstring area.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. So uncomfortable position for sure. It's supposed to be a restraint. Stephen, can you talk to us a little bit? Can you?
All right, I'm gonna stop it there because this shit was fucking ridiculous. Anyway, he wound up not he wound up not passing out. He wound up not dying, but it was fucked up to say the least. To reenact that, like, why would you reenact that? So, wow. Anyway, next story. So, I don't know if you guys watched the news the day of Good Friday, but the day of Good Friday, there was a police officer killed. It was a Capitol police officer killed, by a guy named Noah Green, and this is Noah Green here. So Noah Green, killed this officer by the name of what is his name? William Evans. So Noah Green before no, I'm saying Noah Green. I think it's Noah Hill. Is it Noah Green or Noah Hill? Well, I have to go on a search now so I can get my facts straight. His name is Noah Green. So, Noah Green killed a Capitol police officer last Friday. So that was what, the 5th or 6th. So yeah, so before Noah Green died, he was 25 years old. He grew up. He was born in West Virginia. Grew up in Virginia. And he went to a college in Virginia. But this is where shit starts getting fishy, because they named like 5 states. They named West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, Indiana. What was the other state that they mentioned? They mentioned like 5 states. Like, believe me, they mentioned 5 states. And this is where, when I was reading about this stuff, I came to the conclusion from what I read. So this is my conclusion. He was born in West Virginia, grew up in Virginia, went to school. No, wait a minute. He was born in West Virginia, moved to Virginia, was raised in North Carolina, and then he went to school back in Virginia. He went to a school named, we'll get to that in a minute. He went to a college in Virginia, but then he resided in Indiana. That's what I got from all that. But the school that he went to is Christopher Newport University. I don't know if that's like a big college. It could be a JUCO, but no. But yeah, he went to Christopher Newport University, which is in Newport News, Virginia. So with that, he was a finance major. He played football. He was a star football player. I think it was a running back. He was a finance major, which means he had his mind on right. But so he was successful with the crime. I'm sorry for saying it like that, but he was successful in whatever he planned to do. He was successful in committing a murder, but he wasn't. He didn't get to complete it. I'm guessing that's the right way to say that. He didn't get to complete whatever he wanted to do. So before he went to the Capitol, he went to a knife store or a store that had nice knives. Like if y'all see this knife, and I'm sorry for saying it the way that I'm saying it, but man, listen, the knife that he killed the officer with, which his name is William Evans, and he injured an officer by the name of Kenneth Schaefer. So after I get done with y'all viewing my social medias and where to find me and stuff like that, I'll get to what the knife looks like. So when y'all see this knife, y'all gonna be like, "Yo, that knife looks tight. Like it looks like a nice knife. Like that's a knife. I would I would frame a knife like that. That knife looks very nice. That's a nice looking knife there. It looks like a sushi knife. Like when they cut everything up and then they cut it into the rolls or whatever. Like when they roll it and then they cut it. That looks like a sushi knife. That looks like that's a very nice knife. It looks bronze and everything, unless that's the color or the light reflection. But that's a very nice knife there. That's a nice knife. Sorry, but it's a nice knife. Like I was taken aback by how nice the knife looks. I said, not only is he a murderer, he likes the killing style with his use of weapon. So he so I'm gonna show y'all a video. I'm gonna share my screen again, but I'm gonna make myself very small so you can see the full thing. So let me use this one. So yeah, this is him. Allegedly, this is him in the knife store. If you look around the whole thing, it's like a room full of knives, and I'm guessing whoever this guy is making one because this looks like a machine or whatever. So he let me play this video for y'all first, and then I'll get into what I'm gonna say. All right. So basically, you know what I'm saying? He sought out his knife. He liked how it looked, and he bought it. So I'm gonna share another picture of y'all with what the knife looks like with the handle. Y'all tell me that's not a nice knife. I like the handle on it. I like the little design that's on it. and it looks sharp as shit. But that's a nice fucking knife, man. Like I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the family that lost their father and their husband, to the family of the guy that was injured, and to the Capitol Police that has to bury one of their own. Like, I'm sorry for saying that the knife that Noah killed uh, Billy with is. I'm sorry for saying that it's a nice knife, but it's a. Well, I'm really not sorry for saying it. I'm just saying, just for y'all, it's a nice knife overall. I would use it to cook with, not to kill with. Let's get that under control. But it's a nice fucking knife, man. Anyway, um, so this was the report about him. I don't know what news station that this was on, but they, I think this, I think this came out the day of. So here it goes.
Now, in the hours since we were last on the air, we've been working for you to learn more about the attacker.
Noah Green grew up in Allegheny County, and his social media posts give a bit of insight into what may have been behind the attack. NBC News is reporting 25-year-old Noah Green was most recently living in the Norfolk area. According to Christopher Newport University, that's where he played football, graduating with a degree in finance in 2019. The bio says he graduated Allegheny High School in 2014 and played football during his time there. He's number 7. This is video of him in action from our archives. In a brief statement to 10 News, the Allegheny County Public School Superintendent said in part, "We are aware of the news reports from..."
As far as what I know, Allegheny County, I know Maryland has an Allegheny County. But I'm not sure if that is the Allegheny County that they're talking about. I don't know if any other state has an Allegheny County or Allegheny Parish or what have you, but I know Maryland does. So that's shocking. If you went to a Maryland school.
Washington, D.C. today, our condolences go out to all those affected. Investigators will no doubt search Green's online accounts for clues into a motive on his now deleted Facebook page.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there because that gets into one of my points. So he arrived. So before he arrives, he gets the knife. Then he arrives hours later, I think, and he rams. Like, there was a checkpoint, as y'all see, this checkpoint that says stop on it. These gates got put up after what happened January 6th with the whole insurrection thing, and Trump supporters going to fuck crazy. And, well, can I say that they went crazy? Well, some people will say that they went crazy, that they lost their mind or whatever. But to them, they was doing something that was normal because their fearless leader told them that we're going to rush the Capitol building and stop the votes from going through. And Trump said that he was going with them, but he was nowhere in sight when it happened. He was in a bunker somewhere hiding the fuck out. But what the police were trying to figure out was if that was a motive as well. Was he at January 6th events when it happened, and he came back for revenge because nothing seemed to come out of it, so he wanted to take it into his own hands. So, it's still a developing story. Like, they're still trying to figure shit out. There's no motive, like, they didn't bring that up yet because I didn't play that part, but there's no motive to this whole thing so far because it's still developing. But the investigators looked at their social media accounts, as the reporter said, and they stated that he was going through a crisis, which he actually says that himself, that he was going through a crisis. And basically what the crisis was that because of COVID, it was the reason why he lost his job. So he probably was living on unemployment. Maybe he has a degree in finance, so I'm pretty sure he knows how to manage his money and stuff like that. But we don't know yet until that comes out if he was. But I'm pretty sure they won't look at that as investigators. But that he was going through a crisis. He lost his job, and the police suspect delusions, paranoia, and suicidal thoughts. Now, some people did kill themselves last year because of COVID. Not saying that was the reason why he did it, but it could be it could be a culprit in why he acted the way that he did. So, put that down a little bit more. So, so yeah, I gotta fix this picture real fast. I'm sorry. So, with that being said, sorry. So, he made a post on his social media, and it said this. I gotta put this paper in my face. It said this. Do, 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 do. Oh, before I get into what he said, but also with the paranoia, he thought that he was being followed and watched, and he feared of being under mind control. Which, if y'all don't know about this, okay, I'm getting into a realm that's very dangerous of me talking about on social media or YouTube because of what I can be flagged for. But Facebook and YouTube, just listen to me, because government mind control has been proven to be real. Okay, MK Ultra is the name of what they gave the program of which they use mind control over. One person that we should know who was under mind control was what's his name, the real crazy white dude, Charles Manson. During his time, I think during his time in college or something like that, he was he somehow they got him into this testing group, and he some professor of his or some doctor that came did some sort of test to where they would display how to pursue and how to administer mind control on people. So, but these is his reasons of why he thought that he was being watched or whatever, and that would be the delusion part that the investigators are looking at, and the paranoia of him being watched. And I'll get into another reason why they think that also, but I'll get to that in a minute. So his post wrote was that it looked like it sounded like a cry for help, like it was a tone of like a cry for help. So he wrote on, I guess, his Facebook page. He said, uh, I've been tried with some of the biggest unimaginable tests in my life. I'm currently now unemployed. Let me turn this music down, yo. So, oh yeah. So he said, I'm unimaginable test in my life. I'm currently now unemployed after I left my job, partly due to afflictions, but ultimately in search of a spiritual journey. To be honest, these past few years have been tough, and these past few months have been tougher. And that sounds like a cry for help. So the police, when they came out with uh like some statements of which the like anybody who's covering this on like news stations that's covering this, they're trying to pin the Nation of Islam to this. And Louis Farrakhan, he doesn't call himself the leader of Louis Farrakhan doesn't call himself the leader of the Nation of Islam. He's only an acting leader of what he says himself. Now I have to be careful with this Nation of Islam stuff because they'll supposedly come after anybody who talks bad about the brother minister. But the brother minister, as well as Noah, he saved my life as well. Okay, that's a little bit of going too far. He didn't really save my life, but he gave me the information I needed on the journey that I was going down. That's a little bit better. So, yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't. He was a follower. Noah was a follower like myself of the Nation of Islam. He wasn't a registered member because you have to go through classes and you have to take. You have to go through these classes and pass these classes in order to become a member, a registered member, a card carrying member of the Nation of Islam. But Noah gave up. He went to maybe a Savior's Day convention last year, and he gave over the amount of $1,000+ in donations of the Savior's Day, which granted him a certificate of completion. That doesn't mean that he became a member that day. Okay, he donated to the organization of the Nation of Islam. They didn't give him a foot in the door. That was just him giving a kind gesture to the Nation of Islam. Okay, I've given I donated like $10 one time during the Savior's Day back in the day. I donated myself. So, but with that, when you give over $1,000, when you give up to maybe up to 900 on, when they pass the reciprocals around and they ask you to donate if you're watching via the internet, they'll shout your name out as they're collecting money or whatever. So I didn't watch that Savior's Day thing. So I'm not sure if they gave him a shout out to thanking them. I mean, for thanking him for giving that donation. But they get those kinds of donations every time the minister speaks or whatever. So he was studying to be a member of the Nation of Islam, but he did not complete the process of becoming one, which would have made him a fruit of Islam, which is the national. They're like the army for the Nation of Islam. Basically, it's all the men. Then you have the MGT, which is the women of the Nation of Islam. So with that, he didn't complete his studies or whatever, which that's why I feel like he was in Indiana for, because they have Mosque 74 there, and that's the mosque that one of the student ministers that I like is ahead of student minister Nuri Muhammad. Y'all never heard Nuri Muhammad speak before? I suggest y'all get on YouTube and or just search his name in Google and go from there. Nuri Muhammad, he knows his shit. To be honest, it's only like 4 speakers in the Nation of Islam I like hearing speak. Uh, well, maybe more, but you have Malcolm X, of course. You have the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You have Nuri Muhammad. You have Ali Muhammad, which I don't think he speaks like that anymore. I don't know why. And then Shahrazad Ali. If y'all don't know who Shahrazad Ali is, look her up as well. I am not spelling her name for you right now because I'm gonna fuck up on it. But sound it out when you write it anywhere where you're trying to look for Shahrazad Ali. Okay, that's all you need to know. Anyway, so then with his process of him taking in the good minister's words, he started labeling himself as Noah X. If y'all don't know anything about the Nation of Islam, when you become a member, they grant you with your old name, or with you finding who you are, which your last name becomes X for the simple fact, and I'm preaching right now. The X is in substitution for what your last name is, because they don't want you identifying with who your slave masters were. Okay? So they take your last name away, and now you are whatever your first name is, X. So as we know, Malcolm X then became El Malik Shabazz. So that's Malcolm X's real name before he died, was El Malik Shabazz. So we know him as Malcolm X. Well, y'all know him as Malcolm X. I also know him as Malcolm X, but I also know him by his real name, El Malik Shabazz. So yeah, he didn't complete the process of becoming a member. So but they issued a statement for what he did, and I'm trying to figure out if I have this picture still, so I can so y'all can see. Okay, cool. I do. So I'll read it from my phone, and I'll let you guys see this. And I made this picture. They didn't make this or whatever. So I'm only saying some of it. I'm not saying all of it because it was long as hell. All right, so let me share this with y'all real fast. I'm at the wrong screen. All right, I'm gonna enlarge that. Okay, so it says, brothers and sisters of the community, members of the press, and the American people. Y'all see how they labeled that shit, right? We have prepared this statement to answer some of the many inquiries that we have had over the last few days about Mr. Noah Green. Normally, like most of you, we were disturbed watching this news of the assault on the U.S. Capitol, whereon the police was killed One was injured, and Mr. Green was killed. We speak on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the members of his family, all of the registered Muslim members. Y'all see how they put all that in there, right? All the registered Muslim members of the Nation of Islam and all people of goodwill everywhere. And that we are in sympathy with the victims of this tragedy, and we are in sympathy with the families of these victims. And we, like you, can only offer them condolences and our deepest sympathy of their loss. Our prayers are for the full recovery of the officer who was injured. The Nation of Islam has no history of violence against the government. Federal, state, and local law enforcement are all well aware of our history. We have held four national marches, including the historic 1995 Million Man March, which we know to be one of the largest gatherings in the history of the United States of America, and those peacefully on the U.S. Capitol grounds. We had a good working relationship with the U.S. Capitol Police during each of these historic events. It is being reported that Noah Green was a follower of the Nation of Islam. The young man, Noah Green, we believe, may have attended our Savior's Day convention in Detroit, Michigan, which Detroit, Michigan is where Nation of Islam was birthed. So if you ever go to Detroit, which I don't know why someone would go to Detroit, but if you ever go to Detroit, that's where I think Muhammad Mosque number 1, if not Mosque number 1, is at, because that's where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to. Yeah, that's where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to when he left Georgia. He went to Detroit and met. It's a full story. Y'all look the story up for yourselves. But anyway, Mosque number 1's in Detroit. In February 2020. In March of 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we closed our mosques and began conducting meetings and classes remotely. So with that, Savior's Day is in February. It's around like the last week of February. Then the Sunday after Savior's Day. So Savior's Day is always on a Sunday during, I think, the last week of February. Then or it's either like the second to last week of February. Then that Sunday afterwards, after Savior's Day, you'll have Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He'll speak at Mosque Mariam in Chicago. So I'm guessing around March when because every Sunday they do a they don't do one, but they have service on Sundays at mosque at all the mosques in America. Nation of Islam mosques. Sorry, I need some more water. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, and we closed our mosques, began conducting meetings and classes remotely. A search of our records indicate Noah Green was not a registered member of the Nation of Islam. It appears that in late summer, August to September of 2020, he started the process to begin his study to become a member, but did not complete the process. He did make a donation to the Savior's Day gift. Every year, the followers and supporters make a charitable donation to the Nation of Islam's Savior's Day gift charity. Every donor who makes a donation of $1,000 or more is issued a certificate of completion. The certificate does not establish that the donor is a member in good standing in the Nation of Islam. Mr. Noah Green alleged use of an automobile as a weapon and the alleged possession of a knife as reported. Violates our teachings. We absolutely disavow the act that result in a senseless loss of life. It is shocking for us to learn that someone who was attempting to be a part of our ranks may have been involved in something as tragic as this. But we reportedly say to the members of the media and into the American people, Timothy McVeigh confessed that he was a Christian, but they didn't, whatever. And this is where I cut it off at, because they started getting into a whole bunch of deep shit that I do not want to say on my stuff. So if y'all want to read that, go to nationofislam.org and look at that whole entire statement that they put out. They started getting into Timothy McVeigh and all kinds of other shit. And after I read it, I was like, I gotta talk about that on my podcast. All right, so basically, this basically states everything. The whole video that's up here basically states everything that I was saying, but I was able to do more research than them. So but yeah, yeah, that's his story, man. Like, the brother, you know what I mean? He lost his life for something that the Nation of Islam do not condone, which I don't even know why he killed those people. So anyway, the last story of tonight is something that I personally got agitated about when I was watching Corey Holcomb's 5150 show. He had comedian Kamira White, comedian Marcus Graham. No, I don't think Graham's his last name. I forgot what Marcus's last name is, but you can find him on social media under you know Marcus. So so it's Corey Holcomb. It was Corey Holcomb. It was Marcus. It was Kamira White, and then Nick Cannon popped up. So Nick Cannon was in there, and Corey starting out basically said that he didn't want to put him on the spot about anything that he's been going through, as far as like what he said last summer with the statements that he put out when he was on his podcast with Professor Griff. Now, he kind of when he was in conversation, and that came up when he made his statements about who the real, y'all fill in the blank, so he was talking about that and how he thinks like apologies are empty and stuff like that, and why he would rather sought out for information about what he said compared to what he's been told. It's crazy for the simple fact that he was talking about that, because as far as what I understand, everybody that is, I guess, under the teachings of Mr. Louis Farrakhan and who's read the ISIS papers by Dr. Francis Cress Wells, Bobby Hemmett, and countless others, Dr. Phil Valentine, and stuff like this. everybody has came to the conclusion of what he said, including Professor Griff, that y'all know him by. I know him by Kavan Shah. But in what situation of you telling the truth and then backtracking in front of a rabbi about what from what you said in your Canon's class episode with him, but like how do you say one thing, backtrack it, and then say you think apologies are empty, so you didn't really make an apology. You basically just was listen to what he had to say and then learn from there. It's like, man, get the fuck out of here. Like, you get on my fucking I won't say you get on my fucking nerves, but it's like, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, so Nick Cannon was on 5150 show, and you know what I mean, he put his foot in his mouth again to people who know about the teachings of Malcolm X and you know all of these people who have said all this stuff in the past, but then to have someone tell you that is in another community tell you different. So I'm gonna let him say it for himself. What he said on the 5150 show by way of Comedy Hype.
To get me to talk derogatory and negative, I stand by principles. So I don't care if it's somebody in the comments. I don't care if it's a racist next door. You're not going to get me to act out of pocket unless I'll choose to act out of pocket. I'm not going to call somebody else another name. Or I got called all kind of names because of the way that I handle the situation, because I'm trying to be a better man. I'm not intimidated by anybody. Ain't no job. I think I made all the money I could ever want to make. Mm-hmm. But even at this point, when I get to a space where I know I can open that door, I can help other individuals, I can build schools, I could go back and feed communities, why would I allow some anger towards the people who technically ain't did shit to me? As long as this man got good intentions by us, I wouldn't say.
All right. So Nick Cannon said what he said, and he basically, like I said, he put his foot in his mouth again because Comedy Hype is good for taking one of Corey Holcomb's episodes and chopping it up and making it into something. But I think I should play the next video for y'all. Like the first part of it I should play. Cause this is him. I don't know why I did that.
Believe more than.
All right. So yeah, let me play this for y'all real fast.
Pain. I'm sorry, which I am. I'm sorry for causing pain, hurt to people. But I need to learn how not to do that anymore. And that's why I appreciate this discourse. We've already talked about it. We're going to get to it. But my first question for you is, how did we get here?
We got here because the Simon Wiesenthal Center, one of its main focuses, not exclusive, but main, is dealing with anti-Semitism, which unfortunately, even before the pandemic and everything else that's happened since, we were having major violent attacks against New York Jews on the streets of New York and New Jersey, in the last couple of months. So we took the name, or we got the name of a living legend when he was still alive. His name is Simon Wiesenthal, the great
Great.
Nazi hunter, a man who resurrected justice.
That you actually knew personally.
I had the honor to know for almost 3 decades. And, you know, someone who came from a group, the survivors of the Nazi Holocaust, 6 million Jews. He lost 89 members of his family.
Wow.
He was too weak to stand when the American troops at Mauthausen came. He weighed 90 pounds.
Wow.
You know, if I don't like talking about victimhood and victimization, but if there was ever a group of people who had the moral right to say the world is horrible, they knew what was going on, they did nothing, it was the people who stumbled out of those camps. And amazing.
Also, black people said that as well, and they continue to say it to this day. So I'm speaking more to Rabbi Cooper here, but Nick, if you're listening, you might as well perk your ears up as well. So I had to do the research on some stuff, and by no means is this anti-Semitism of any way, because Nick Cannon said one thing, and then you said another. He apologized, as y'all could hear, and he basically took your word took Rabbi Cooper's word of what he's learned from what he read in the ISIS papers, what he learned from Minister Louis Farrakhan, which this guy, Rabbi Cooper, calls it black extremism ideals. I don't know what the hell black extremism is. I don't. Like, they're just coming up with words. Like, how's it when someone learns about who they really are, how does it become black extremist ideals? So me learning about my people from beginning till now is black identity extremism? Like, what the hell is that? So I had to do the research. So people from Africa, or African descended people, or melanated people, or as they was called then, the Kushites, they have been on this planet for over 300,000 years. Okay? So, to you, my friend, Rabbi Cooper, people who look like you have only been around for 50,000 years. So that means we had a 250-year head start to not only create civilizations, erect monuments such as the Great Pyramids of Giza, the 3 King Pyramids, the Sphinx, the Aztec, the Aztec and Mayan temples. Okay, so the Washington Monument is actually modeled after these pillars. I forgot what they're called. That's in Egypt. It's like a road, and they're all erected like at this point or whatever. And you know what I'm saying? Like it's these things that we see in monuments, and in museums of stuff that people who look like me did. So what makes you think, Rabbi Cooper, that we wasn't able to create some type of spiritual systems and religious systems such as Judaism, Islam, Ephi, which is another African spirituality system, which has which they use in some form or fashion, which people demonize, which is voodoo, which the real term is voodoo, and the Yoruba system, spiritual system. So what makes you think, Rabbi Cooper, that we weren't able, was we not that civilized to come up with all that stuff? Or do you think it was another set of individual people who came up with all that? Because as far as from what I've read, it was people, melanated people who looked like me who did that. Not people who look like you. It doesn't matter what those documentaries tell you. It was us. It doesn't matter when they come out with the new face of Cleopatra. It's not them. It's us. I'm sorry. It's us. Now call that a black extreme ideal if you want. It doesn't really fucking matter. It is what the fuck it is. So, with that being said, he also talked. Nick Cannon also talked about. He brought up how he's working on this Dr. Sabi documentary that Nipsey Hussle has started, but due to his untimely death, he wasn't able to complete. So Nick Cannon took it over. So if you don't know who Dr. Sabi is a natural holistic healer. So he was placed on trial for this was like back in the 80s. He was placed on trial. He was placed on trial because it was a write-up in what's that neighborhood in New York? Damn, they got their own paper as well. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, put it in the comment section. But if you hold on. So Nick Cannon brought that up, but you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So Dr. Sabi had cured like 9 people of AIDS. He's cured people of cancer. And Nick Cannon brought up that himself has lupus. Do you know who also had cured that? Dr. Sabi. Now, I know YouTube and Facebook's probably looking at this like, all right, we're about to take this video down. But listen, it's in his paperwork of things that he's wrote down that has stated that he's done that. Was I there when he did that? No. But I believe in a way that he did, because if you look at modern Western medicine, they mostly only treat what's going on. They don't cure. So they don't really cure you of cancer. They just make sure that there's not enough cancer in your body that'll kill you. They don't cure other things. They just make sure that they put it in check with medicines and treatments and stuff like that. Because the money is in the treatment, it's not in the cure. So this is why I say to Nick, if you believe in Dr. Sabi's work so much, why is it that you stated in that episode that has now been taken down of Corey Holcomb's 5150 episode that aired last Tuesday? It's been taken down. You stated that you're in the hospital seeing doctors every other week because of your lupus, but you didn't think once to say, hey, let me see what Dr. Sabi's cure or regimen holds, to where, you know what I mean, I won't have to keep going back to these doctors. Not once. I don't think you have thought of that, and not once did you bring that up on the show. So To that I say, what this YouTuber that I watch named Brian Redmond, he runs the relationship rehab show. He has this quote that I like. He says it all the time, and I'm gonna say it to Nick. Get the fuck out my face on the internet. You are literally with this whole fake woke shit of yours, yo. Like, it's fucking disturbing. Like, to a person like me who actually does his research, actually reads the books he's supposed to know the information that was not taught to me in school, number one, that was kind of alluded to me as I was growing up with my mom. But, like, you didn't one time, not once, did you ever say that you took Dr. Sebi's regimen? So you went on this apology tour and you started just talking to all these rabbis, and you got this, was this ABC News? They did 7 minutes on you, 7.5 minutes on you, homie. Like, what did you have to say to them to make you sound like you're not this bad guy, so you can lose out on the money or whatever from all these TV shows that you're either producing or that you're on? You said you made all the money that you have ever wanted to make. You want to help other people. So if you've made all the money that you ever wanted to make, why the fuck does it matter what the hell you say? If you made all the money that you have ever wanted to make, do you have investments at all that you can live off of so you don't have to worry about people getting mad at you for what you say? I don't know. Let's see what you have to say about this.
We turn now to Nick Cannon, sitting down for his first TV interview since widespread condemnation over his anti-Semitic comments. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
You've made a very clear distinction between an apology versus atonement.
Atonement.
Are you seeking?
And I won't play this whole video, but he said he's seeking for atonement. Stop with the bullshit, Nick.
Forgiveness.
I'm not seeking forgiveness. I'm seeking for growth.
Nick Cannon is not.
No, that's cool. I understand. That's good. You wanna grow as a person. I understand that. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. I understand that. But what does it matter if you tell the truth to someone, then their feelings get hurt? That's the onus isn't on you, friend. It's on them. If their feelings get hurt from what you say, it's not on you. It's on them. Let them deal with their own fucking feelings, and then you deal with what the fuck you gotta deal with.
Asking for forgiveness, but after what he said this past summer, many think he should. After years of building his brand, bigoted comments he made on one podcast threw his stardom and future into a tailspin.
These people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people. Right. They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric.
The Cannon's Class episode featured Richard.
Now, what he's alluding to, and I'll take it to the Nation of Islam, because they tell the story in a dumbed down way so people can understand. So, okay, so it was this in their frame of referencing this sort of type of information, of this story of information. The story is, it was this scientist named Yaqub. He then grafted the white man and every other race that's out there. This is the story. This isn't me saying this. he grafted from genetic materials of the melanated people. He then grafted every single other race that's in civilization now. So from the black man, which God made, to the red, the brown, the yellow, the white. That's the story. In short, that's the story. So, whatever.
Griffin, aka
And with the barbaric thing, like I seen this documentary where it was this English fellow. He basically said that this isn't me talking, this is him talking. Y'all look for. I don't even know what it's called, but it was a documentary I watched where the man said that white genetics have the Neanderthal genetics in them. That's what he said. It was a white dude that said that. I didn't say that. He said that. I'm just repeating them. But whatever.
Professor Griff, who had been kicked out of Public Enemy back in 1989 for anti-Semitic comments. He and Nick retread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
And the reason why, Professor Griff essentially was kicked out not for the comments he made. He was kicked out because Chuck D was pressured into kicking him out because of, what's that dude's name? Anyway, whatever the white dude's name that was running Def Jam with what's his name? Shit. Russell Simmons. It was him. It was the white dude that was running it with Russell that told Chuck, you need to kick Professor Griff out the group because he's a Jewish man himself. He told Chuck D, kick him out the group, or if you don't kick him out the group, the whole group is going to be off of Def Jam. So Chuck D didn't like how that went, but I don't even see why Professor Griff would lie about this. Professor Griff tells this story about Public Enemy and how they first started. I'm not going to tell the story, but the ending part of the story is that they was only supposed to come into the industry for 2 years and then get the fuck out. So you get their first album, which I forgot what that's called. Then the second album was called It Takes a Nation of Millions, and I forgot the rest of the title. But it was that album which had Fight the Power on it and all that other good music or whatever. That's the reason why he got kicked. Professor Griff got kicked out.
And questioned the birthright of the Jewish people.
The Semitic people are black people. Right. You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people. When we are the same people that who they want to be, that's our birthright. That's our birthright.
All
right, so I'll stop it there. So that's what got Rabbi Cooper's panties in a bunch, and he wrote on Twitter or something like that. If you want a PhD in Jewish hatred, then that's the show you want to watch. Which Corey Holcomb and his old panel guest Zoe Williams, which Zoe explained it in entirety, and everything else that I have researched, what Mr. Louis Farrakhan has stated. What the fuck was wrong with what he said? It wasn't wrong. I just told you. Wrong page. I just told you that melanated people have been here on this earth for 300,000 years. And with everything else I said, just rewind this to the point where I brought that up. But put that number in your mind. 300,000 years. It's probably more, but whatever. Anyway, I can't trust the damn thing that Nick Cannon says because he's a cross-dresser. Like, I can't believe anything that he says because he's a fucking cross-dresser. And I'm not coming at transgenders. I'm coming at a cross-dressing coward. If y'all don't believe he's a cross-dresser, then look at this shit.
I got a big old ball bunny. You got hair growing out of it?
What's that? This nigga in a dress. He in a wig. And this is him on All That years ago. I remember watching this episode, being confused in a motherfucker looking at this shit about why is he in a goddamn dress. I used to look at that. I used to look at shit like that with Martin. I used to look at shit like that with Eddie Murphy. To this day, I still look at motherfuckers crazy that do that shit. I barely watch Tyler Perry movies. I barely watch them. Maybe the plays, but not the movies. But I can't believe anything a cross-dressing coward says. I'm sorry. And to go back to the first video that I showed you of him. Not GMS, but what's up, GMS? Where's it at? Oh, right here.
Because see, Whoopi Goldberg told.
I don't know what the fuck is going on with this shit. Okay. She's a pretty thing right there. Okay, so to end this is all I really have to say. Nick Cannon, quit talking around points, and if you want to be in the industry, be in the industry. Don't be a fake woke. I don't even know what the fuck woke means, and I've said this before. This woke shit is just getting out of hand. You got everybody thinking that they're so-called woke, whatever the fuck that means, about things that they're just learning. And I've been okay. So to give some history on me when it comes to me being what I say is conscious to who I am, not woke to who I am. So in 2009, I turned 21. So half of that of me being 21. So 6 months went past. Me and my cousin I had a conversation with my cousin because I found out that he was Muslim. I was curious about the Muslim religion. I spoke to him. He gave me my first Quran, and then from there, I just started learning shit. So with the whole conscious thing, at 22, that's where I started getting knowledge of self. That's another word for being conscious, having knowledge of self. So from 6 months of me studying on what the Muslim religion is, up until my 22nd birthday, I had some sort of knowledge of self. So from 22 up until now, I've been reading, studying, and doing all kinds of research about who black people are. This is something that Nick Cannon, I think, has done. I don't know. Because the shit that he says is just fucking, it's just crazy. And he thinks he knows what he's talking about. And this goes to any other person that think that they're woke. I'm not even going to give the people who I look at as teachers of this, because obviously that's not the people he's looking at. So it's been a good slice of time. It's been like 10, 11 years that I've been reading, researching, and learning about who I am. It took me, I don't know, it took me a while to understand half of the shit that I read, and I had to reread some shit. So, yeah, you don't get this type of knowledge and this type of knowing about yourself just by reading the brochure, which I'm pretty sure that's what the fuck he did, and everybody else who thinks that they're woke are. But this nigga, and I didn't want to do this to him, but I had to. He was wearing the color yellow. And I was like, the color yellow must be significant to something.
Job.
So the color yellow means cowardice, betrayal, egoism, and madness. I'll say that again. Cowardice, betrayal, egoism, madness. Everything that he displayed in that episode when it came to why he apologized. And to be honest, y'all, that's all I got for y'all because I had to save that part of the story. I mean, that part of what I talked about with the Nick Cannon shit last for the simple fact, I don't know if y'all see it, but I'm upset. I've learned how to control my anger because of me being in anger management, but I've been taught how to control my anger. And I'm using it now to do this, but he's fucking insane for doing what he did. Now, I know the other side is thinking that no, he's insane for saying what he said about Jewish people. But he was only stating a fact that is a fact. And that's all I have to say about that. So, everybody, if you would, don't be a stranger. Come on over to Facebook and Instagram. Y'all have any show ideas? I'll research it. It'll take me some time to get to your idea, but I will try and research it the best of my ability. Yeah, follow me on Facebook at Marcus Speaks, and follow me on the Facebook group page at Marcus Speaks Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at marcus.speaks.podcast. Is linked right to my Facebook group. So if I make a post there, it'll be on the Facebook group. So and I make the same post on my personal page as well. So if you guys want to hit any of those up, feel free. If you're on Facebook and you don't know that I have a YouTube channel, it's the same name. It's under Marcus Speaks. Now, there are several other Marcus Speaks, but just look for me. It's me in a hat profile. You see my profile? It's a great picture, and it has M on the top and S at the bottom when you're looking for the circle channel thumbnail. That's me, Marcus Speaks. The real Marcus Speaks I should put on there. Also, I do this podcast every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also do a Marcus Speaks play, which is me. It's like a game and live stream. I play all my favorite games plus new releases whenever new releases come out. Which new releases I don't know about, and I know of some new releases, but not all of them. So I'll have to see what other new releases are out so I can get those, and I can play them on the channel. Like I said in the beginning, since the shortage of PS5s and Xbox Series X's, I'm only playing right now with a Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and a Nintendo Switch. But I'm pretty sure you guys will enjoy my past two episodes that I've did on Marcus Speaks Play. It's me playing the latest installment in the Super Mario franchise. It's really a remake of Super Mario 3D Land that then got ported over to the Nintendo Wii U as Super Mario 3D World, and now it's on Switch now. And I'm playing that, and then probably after I finish playing that, I'll probably play over the Bowser's Fury, which is also another installment in the Super Mario franchise. So, if you ever do come to my channel on YouTube, don't be shy to put a comment in either a video that I've already made or when I'm live streaming on 6:30 on either Friday or Saturday. I will see every single message, so don't be afraid to hit me up. Also, I'm trying to get to 75 subscribers by the end of this month. So please, if you could, if you watch, tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. Share it if you can on to your social medias. And I think that's really all I got. So yeah, I'll be back here next Friday with my Marcus Speaks play. And then again next week, next Saturday, with Marcus Speaks podcast live. If you see the banner in the back, in my new studio, yeah, I'll be here every Friday and Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so please don't forget to watch. And with that, I thank y'all for watching. And y'all have a good, and where is it at? Yeah, thank y'all for watching and have a good rest of your night. Peace.